So we're embarking on a new year, new journey into the year 2020 by our calendar. How many of you saw the old year out? Watched the ball drop maybe in Times Square, celebrated with friends? How many of you went to bed early? Figured I'd seen the ball drop so many times, nothing new there, so I called it a night early. But at any rate, we are aware, whether we celebrate it or not, and most of us do in some way, we are aware of the new year, when an old year passes and the new year begins. So marking the end of one year and the beginning of the next is actually a universal tradition. I did a little bit of surfing on the internet and found that in addition to Times Square in New York City, travel sites advertise spectacular New Year celebrations in such places as Sydney, Paris, London, Bangkok, Dubai, Athens, Berlin, Hong Kong, Moscow, and Rio de Janeiro, just to name the current top 10. So what is all this celebration about? At 1 second past midnight, on January 1st, the day changed from Tuesday to Wednesday. No big deal. This transition from one day to the next is of no special significance, 364 times of the days of the year. I guess 365 times this year because it's leap year. Those of us who are blessed with a good night's rest sleep right through it. But somehow we've decided that this particular change from December 31st to January 1st is different. The unique tick of the clock has always prompted us to celebrate and to step outside our daily routines and reflect and look back, take stock and assess how we did and resolve to do better. No other moment in our year gets this attention. Why does the start of the new year carry such special symbolism? And why is its celebration so common around the world as it has been for at least as long as there have been calendars? Behavior this pervasive must surely be tied to something intrinsic in our human nature. Something profoundly meaningful and important given all the energy and resources that we devote to this celebration. This celebration also prompts us to make New Year resolutions, even though most of us will fail to keep them. It may be that the symbolism we attach to this moment is rooted in one of the most powerful motivations, our motivation to survive. The celebration part is obvious. As our birthdays do, New Year's Day provides us a chance to celebrate that we have made it through another 365 days, the unit of time by which we chronologically keep score of our lives. Another year is over and we're still here. Time to raise our glasses and toast to our survival. Well, what about those resolutions? Aren't they about survival too? Living healthier, happier, better, longer. New Year's resolutions are examples of the universal human desire to have some control over what lies ahead, because the future is unknowable. Not knowing what's to come means that we don't know what we need to know to prepare to protect ourselves. To counter this worrisome powerlessness, we do things to take control. We resolve to diet, to exercise, to quit smoking, and start saving. It doesn't even matter whether we hold to our resolutions and make good on these promises. In fact, a 2007 study by British psychologist Richard Wiseman found that for many of us, what U2 sang is true. Nothing changes on New Year's Day. Of 3,000 people followed for a full year, 88% failed to keep their New Year's resolutions, although 52% of them had been confident that they would keep them when they made them. Sound familiar? Similarly, committing to them at least, or simply committing to them at least for a moment, seems to give us a feeling of more control over the uncertain days that are to come. This is by no means a modern strategy for dealing with the fear of uncertainty. The tradition of New Year's resolutions dates all the way back to 153 BC. January is named after Janus, a mythical god of early Rome. Janus had two faces, one looking forward and one looking backwards. This allowed him to look simultaneously back into the past and forward toward the future. On December 31st, the Romans imagined Janus looking backward into the old year and forward into the new year. This became a symbolic time for Romans to make resolutions for the new year and forgive enemies for troubles in the past. The Romans also believed Janus could forgive them for their wrongdoings in the previous year. The Romans would give gifts and make promises, believing that Janus could see this and bless them in the year ahead. We did something similar last week when we observed the ritual of the burning bowl. This ceremony is a metaphysical ritual of looking back into the old year and forgiving ourselves for our shortcomings, identifying those emotional and mental states that do not serve us and release them. Then we wrote a letter to God, setting our intention for the new year ahead. In a way, we were starting to form our New Year resolutions. As human beings, we've been programmed to survive, and that is what our New Year rituals allow us to express. But I would like to challenge us to aspire to something more. What can we do to thrive in the next year? Obviously, a stellar set of traditional resolutions is not going to work, since studies have shown that the majority of us will not be able to follow through on them. So I would like to offer a spin on the traditional ritual of making New Year's resolutions. I propose that we commit to just a few small and simple practices. Because the practices are small and simple, it is more likely that we will be able to follow through on them and honor our commitment. Because we are able to follow through, these practices can have a big impact on our life. This is not a new idea either. This strategy has been used in baseball with great success. In October 2014, for your baseball fans of American Major League Baseball relished the sight of the plucky Kansas City Royals fighting their way to the final game of the World Series, bringing an end to a 10-year losing streak. What captured the attention of so many baseball enthusiasts was the key to the Royals' success throughout the season had been an old-fashioned approach to the game of baseball called small ball. Rather than relying on muscle-bound sluggers to belt out Grand Slam home runs, the Royals instead used simple incremental strategies that enable runners to move from base to base and keep the other team from scoring. These strategies include bunting, stealing bases, hitting sacrifice fly balls, and playing solid defense. While these strategies are anything but glamorous and do not wow the fans like smashing a towering Grand Slam home run, they are inexpensive, very effective, and available to everyone. Baseball analysts were impressed. Sean Gregory, the baseball columnist for Time magazine, wrote, "The Royals have found a winning formula. These days, if you swing for the fences, you are more likely than ever to strike out. So just put the ball in play and take your chances with your legs. Steal bases to eke out those diminishing runs. Small ball is cheap and effective. This is where the game is headed." In much the same way, when we commit to small practices, we can greatly impact our life experience. These practices are available to everyone and are easily sustained, since they do not require much time or many resources. All it requires is our consistent commitment to practice on a regular basis. So what do these small practices look like? I would like to share a few examples, but I want to emphasize that any small, regularly practiced activity is a small practice. So the sky's the limit. One possibility is to create some morning rituals. Give yourself time to wake up slowly. Lie on your back with bent knees and your feet planted on the floor or in bed, if you're like me, hip width apart. Put a heavy book on your abdomen between the bottom of your rib cage and belly button. Inhale and raise the book toward the ceiling. As you exhale, relax your abdomen and repeat this 20 times. Drink a glass of water and then sit down for a very short meditation. Simply sit comfortably and try to focus on your breath for 2 minutes. When, not if, but when your mind wanders, just notice it and label it thinking, and gently return your attention to the breath without harshness or judgment. Set a timer, and when the timer goes off, you're done. If you feel like extending by a minute every week or so, feel free to do so, but you don't have to expand this exercise. The benefit of this regular short practice is that you learn the skills of mindfulness, which you can then take throughout the day and use in other parts of your day. After the short meditation, from this expanded state of awareness, allow yourself 5 minutes of free writing. Set a timer and write whatever comes to you. No judgment, no analysis, no censoring. Simply allow the contents of your mind and your heart to flow out onto the blank page. Or spend this time in prayer and contemplative thought. This entire routine from start to finish takes about 10 minutes. There's one very important admonition here though. No iPhone, Android, laptop, tablet, or any other technology until after breakfast. Another possibility is to create some evening rituals. So instead of doing my favorite activity, which is snacking in front of the TV, try drinking a cup of warm or cold herbal tea every evening. Try not to include any screen in your activities within the last hour that you're going to be awake, but instead listen to music, read an actual book with paper pages, reflect on the events of your day, relive the day in your mind, hitting on the main events quickly. I got up, I meditated, made breakfast, went to work, and so on. Reliving your day in this fashion allows you to let go of it and rest in the present moment. Keep a gratitude journal. Similar to the morning ritual, set either a timer or an item limit. Journal on what you are grateful for 10 minutes, or write 3 things for which you are grateful. If writing doesn't appeal to you, then just as you lay down to go to sleep, recall 3 things that you are grateful for. Why is this gratitude practice so powerful? Well, a regular gratitude practice cultivates a mental and emotional state of happiness and joy. As George Bernard Shaw aptly said, there are 2 tragedies in life. One is to get your heart's desire. One is not to get your heart's desire. The other is to get it. The nature of desire is that the more we get, the more we want. However, real happiness comes when we are content with what we have and are free of desire. A gratitude practice helps us to find that sweet spot where we realize that we have enough to satisfy our basic needs and are not over-consuming to satisfy our desires. So we have what I call the bookend, small practices, those short, simple, powerful practices that begin and end our daily cycle. But what about the rest of the day? A small practice that is power-packed is a simple refusal to multitask. There is a power in focus and attention. Focus and attention are the tools we use in meditation to inhabit the present moment. Turning our attention inward and focusing on our breath allows us to get out of our heart and out of our head and into our body. The incredible gift of our body is that it can only be in the present moment. Our head and our heart can inhabit the past, the future, or any other alternative reality we may choose to create. However, the body can only reside in the present moment. So whenever we fully inhabit our body, we are living in the present moment. Then we are able to perform a single action with no distractions, completing it more quickly and more successfully. When we simplify our life in this way, we find that we can actually achieve more than when we juggle several things all at once. So I've enumerated several small practices that have a big impact on your experience of life. There are the morning rituals, deep breathing, 2-minute meditation, 5-minute free write or prayer. There are the evening rituals, supporting your body as it unwinds with a cup of herbal tea, winding down by reliving the day and letting it go, and practicing gratitude. And finally, the small practice for the rest of the day, living simply by refusing to multitask and controlling your attention and focus consciously. Hopefully some of these ideas have sparked your own consciousness, and you are aware of some small practices that could impact your life in a powerful way. The white stone ceremony that is to follow will provide us some guidance in what is possible for this new year. Unity churches often celebrate the first Sunday of the new year with a white stone ceremony. The ceremony is a brief meditation where you allow your higher self to give you a name, a quality, or some direction for the new year. This word or phrase in some way represents what you want to heal and what you want to accomplish throughout the year. It is the completion of the ritual that we actually began last week. In the burning bowl, we released what hinders us, and in our letter to God, we envisioned how we could be without these hindrances. This week, we will receive guidance from our higher self as to how we can inhabit this higher state of consciousness. So I'm going to ask Maria if she would pass around the white stones at this time. And as it comes by, just select one of the white stones in the basket, the one that appeals to you most. And as she does that, I'm just going to fill you in a little more on the significance of what this white stone represents. So as we've released the past year and entered the new one, we do so ready to receive a vision of what this new time can bring into our lives. Through a brief meditation, you will identify a unique name, quality, or spiritual focus for 2020 and record it on the white stone, if you wish, for reference throughout the year. Why a white stone? Well, white stones are an important symbol. They were, at least during the time of Jesus. When a prisoner was released from prison, he was given a white stone to symbolize his freedom and to prove that he had indeed been released. He had paid his debt. As long as he had this white stone with him, he was assured of his freedom. That person was free from bondage, free from any restriction. So if you have your white stone, as you hold it in your hand, know that you're starting with a clean slate. Now wait till Maria gets the rest of them around here. We all have one now? Okay, great. So as you hold your white stone in your hand, know that you're starting with a clean slate. Just allow yourself to feel the energy of the stone you're holding. Remember that this white stone signifies freedom from bondage. Because each one of us is a human being, each one of us comes from bondage today. And we are being given a white stone to signify our freedom from that bondage. The ceremony actually comes from a verse in the Bible, Revelation 2:17, where the Apostle John writes, "To everyone who conquers, I will give some hidden manna." This is the first promise. To everyone who conquers. For those of us as followers of Spirit, it is not an outer war that we're fighting, but an inner war that requires our surrender. For us to be in the world, but not of the world. It is a struggle between the patterns of our ego and the essence of our true nature. But when we do surrender to that spirit and go within, only then do we conquer. So this is an incredible paradox. Only in surrender is there victory. Not an outer surrender or an outer victory, but an inner surrender, an inner victory of letting go and letting God be God in and through us. The hidden manna is derived from these higher levels of being within us. It nourishes the soul first and then the body. It benefits the whole being. In the Gospels, Jesus alludes to this very thing when he tells his disciples, "I have food to eat that you don't know about." This hidden manna is the vital life substance and energy of spirit, directly assimilated into our entire being. The second part of the promise in Revelation 2:17 goes like this. "And I will give a white stone, and on that white stone is written a new name, that no one knows except the one who receives it." We conquer and receive the hidden manna, our full potential, by consciously surrendering, letting go of what no longer serves us, that which we released during the burning bowl last Sunday. In this white stone that you're holding in your hand, which represents a purified state of consciousness, we remember who we truly are, the beloved children of God, made in the image of God. We remember what God said to Moses through the burning bush, "I am that I am." And in this higher white stone consciousness, or what we sometimes call Christ consciousness, within ourselves, we learn our new name, an entirely new realization of our true I am. So I invite you to close your eyes as you take a few deep breaths to center your attention and relax into your body. Together we will create a space in consciousness to receive this new name. As we surrender and allow Spirit to speak to us in the silence, we make space for unlimited possibilities to become manifest in our lives. In creating a space in our consciousness, we open ourselves to unlimited possibilities, unlimited potential. With your eyes closed, take a few deep breaths and notice how the body relaxes with each exhalation. Now allow your body or your breath to return to its natural rhythm as you settle into the space around you. Become aware of how the body feels in this moment. Is it light? Is it heavy? Is it anxious? Is it relaxed? Get a sense of the tone or emotion of the mind in this moment. Don't judge your feelings or sensations. Just acknowledge them by noticing them. Now shift your attention and focus to the breath. Take a few moments to become aware of the natural rhythm wherever you feel it in your body. In your abdomen, in your chest, in your shoulders, wherever that space is. In this space of open awareness, in the spaciousness of this present moment, affirm to yourself that you were made in the image of God.